Hello and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters. My name is Anne Pinkava, joined as always by the lovely Deplorable Knitter, now in two separate locations again. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Jen from Little Ragamuffin, the William Wallace of sewing, as she's been called by her friend Carrie Smith. Nice to see you, Jen.
Hi, nice to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Before we get into telling you about Jen and who she is, though, I wanted to remind you that we're sponsored by Chicken Lady Fiber Arts, and she has fantastic yarns. This is a one-of-a-kind colorway, I believe. She'll correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but she has lovely, lovely colors, like our PIK, our lovely colorway made just for us. You can use the code PIK BOO20 for 20% off your order. That's BOO20, 20% off your order this month. And also, Anne and I have a giveaway for October. And I wanted to do this one just because Amy from Two Sisters in Yarn, they have been doing a make-along for Let Them Live. And this is a brave book. I happen to get 2 copies of this. So this one's called Little Lives Matter. It's a children's book about why, even though kids might be different, they're still important and special and wonderful. So we're giving that away this month. And as always, a copy of Odyssey Tale by Cody Schlegel, an awesome non-woke retelling of Odyssey, super fun. And I kind of forgot I had these. And so probably from now until a while from now, you're going to be getting stickers from the famous artist Bertie Rose. This one says hates peach, and this one says, I will not stand by and let telling the truth become a crime. So look for fun little extras in your packages for the next while. But if you guys want to get these books, you can comment on our episode, tell us why you want them, tell us who you're going to give the little book to. But if you guys haven't read Brave books, we are in no way sponsored by them, but they are so amazing because they talk about things like there's one where an elephant is trying to fly, and we learn why elephants can't fly, and it is presented in a fun, childlike way, and I can't say enough about them. And every time we get a new one in the mail, my kids are begging me to read it to them. So if you haven't tried a Brave book, here's a great way to start. They're awesome. So anyway, business is over. So Jen, we want to know about you. Some of our viewers probably haven't heard of you. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a seamstress that turned into a pattern designer, sewing pattern designer. I don't knit at all. So
That's okay.
There's a shocker.
Even though you did have a pattern in a Blocked magazine.
I did. I put, it was for a sock, like when you guys make, again, I know nothing, so this is horrible. DPN case. So for all your little needles when you're making socks, you can sew a little case for that. And I have a pattern for that with Blocked. Yeah. So I started making sewing patterns after having a custom sewing business for a while. I've got a couple kids, married. That's it, basically. I homeschool. Yeah.
Very cool. So your life is what mine could have been if I had continued on making wedding gowns with my mother. But I realized that I despise sewing and I don't like brides. So now I knit and I homeschool instead.
Yeah, if you don't like brides or sewing, that is not the place you want to be.
Right. Well, and I noticed that you said seamstress too, that I know that some people can be a little weird with sewist or,
I like the term sewist. Okay, so I could break that down a little. Seamstress and tailor are technical terms for your skill level. It is not gendered. People assume it's gendered because it sounds gendered, but it's not. Seamstress, you put seams together. It's not like you're fitting. Like a tailor would be more inclined to be at fitting it to you. And when you think of men's suits and stuff,
Right.
And then sewist, I use it all the time for just general at-home sewist. they're not professional. They just sew when they want, and, you know, hobbyist type thing. So there's the discussion around that is kind of weird. I think all this stuff kind of gets mixed up in somebody's mad at something for something and doesn't need to be. Like, you don't need to be mad at a word. Like, it's silly. Yeah.
That's funny. So how long have you been putting out your own patterns?
I'm actually having my 5-year anniversary in November.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I'm very excited about your giveaway when you mentioned that, because I love giveaways. I do them all the time. And November is the month for my company. Like, I do giveaways once a week. We have multiple giveaways. And then at the end, I give away like a serger and a 6-month fabric subscription. Wow. And all kinds of stuff. Like, it's so fun. So giveaways are my jam. And I love that you guys do them too. That's great.
Yeah. Well, we try to, you know, we're sponsored by Cody, and then sometimes we give away yarn, and then like sometimes, like, I'm telling you, I don't know how old your kids are. Mine are 9 and 7. I'm telling you, these books are so cool. I love them. It's really so cute. Much. But yeah, no, giveaways are fun because I don't know, everybody loves a little chance to win, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Get to share stuff you love with people. It's great.
It is. And I love doing it specifically for my customers and just anybody. I mean, you don't even have to buy anything from me to do the giveaways. It's just my chance to give back to my sewing community and people that have supported me or just want some free stuff. I don't care. Like, it's just fun. It's just a good environment, and it's loving and caring, and everybody enjoys it. Hopefully, you know.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've been designing patterns for 5 years. So what kind of things do you prefer to make? Do you have? It's
like mostly women's wear.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly women's wear. I try to do my designs are a little more not risque, but more like form-fitting, somewhat sexy. In my opinion, I like women to look like women. So that's what I designed for it. But they also always come with like a very basic style. So if I have the opportunity to do the same identical pattern, but for girls, I do that as well. But sometimes it just doesn't translate. You know, like, I'm not going to do something super sexy or whatever and try to put it on a child. Like, and there's women that want that though. They're like, do you have this for kids? And I'm like, I don't. I'm not going to make a low plunging top for your child. I'm just not doing that.
Yeah. Well, I know that you got into a little trouble. I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook for that you put out an underwear pattern. It was a little cheeky, and they had to picture take it down.
It was a line drawing too. If you guys are able to put screenshots up, you should put that in there, because I don't want to be like a horrible line drawing. I made it. I do all my own art and all that too. So, but it's just basically just stick legs, just lines, and then the outline of butt cheeks. That's it. And then the underwear like outline. So I don't know if it was stupid Facebook algorithm. I don't know how it could pick it up, but it got flagged for spam and taken down. I was like, this is the weirdest thing. So sometimes I just don't know because of the cancel history that I have, if it's a Facebook algorithm thing or if it's idiot people still tagging my stuff like that, because I have been put in Facebook jail multiple times for like long stints, like months at a time, some like 3-4 weeks, which is really damaging to a business when you can't share, post, comment, do anything to promote. Or if you're trying to run a pattern test, you can't.
Right.
You can't interact with your people for a month. Like, they don't want it. Then after that, their timeline is gone. Like, it's bad. So sometimes I don't know if it's Facebook algorithm stuff or if it's people that don't like me.
Right. Well, I do know that people have a tendency to come back and like report posts after you've been canceled. So the mob has come after you, I take it. What happened with that?
Yeah, that's pretty much why I'm here talking to you guys, isn't it?
Well,
so,
you know.
3 years ago, I put out a pattern. Well, it's like 3.5 years ago. It's called The Good Old Boy, and it's a men's button-down shirt. And it was apparently people thought the name was racist. So it caused some kerfuffles, and they came after me pretty hard. They asked me to change, well, they demanded that I change the name and apologize. There were videos made about me and passed around and on how to and what to do to cancel me. It was pretty
you have
weird.
Your own tutorials then, not just sewing.
Yeah.
It's tutorials
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah. So the pattern was actually out for over a year. I take that 6 months back. So it was out for over a year before that happened. And when it did happen, it was during my anniversary month, like I mentioned earlier, I'm coming up on. So it was the same thing. It was in November of my 2nd year anniversary. And I was doing all the giveaways and pattern sales. And when that pattern came up for its day or week or whatever it was to be on sale, I was promoting it. So I was like, Good Old Boys on sale. And that's when they took after it. They were like, oh, that name's racist. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's been out for a year and a half or whatever. Nobody said anything to me. My testers loved it. People were sharing it all over.
Mhm.
But now all of a sudden it's not right,
Right.
So, yeah.
And so this was the sewing community that came after
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Right. And it's just so weird to me that that's what's going to make them mad. Like when people got mad at me for like making a hat that said Trump on it in real big letters, like I got that. Like you don't like him, you're mad at me. But you've got a button-down shirt. I'm imagining it's some sort of almost Western looking. That's what I have in my head from you saying that.
It has a Western element. When I designed it, I was binge watching Dukes of Hazzard. So,
there's your problem.
I know. I'm a Waylon Jennings fan, and I was like designing the shirt, and I was like, oh, good old boy. It's like perfect. It's like 1970s, 80s men's Western wear fashion.
Right.
It's got like the little points here and the pocket details and stuff. So that's where the name came from. It was nothing, nefarious or anything weird. I wasn't trying to make people mad.
I mean, since then, the Dukes of Hazzard has also been canceled. So I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah, which is a shame. That's a great show. It's a very family oriented show, and it's a great show. Everybody should watch it. Unintentional plug for Dukes of Hazzard.
Exactly. In no way sponsored by Dukes of Hazzard, but
yeah.
So is it how common is cancellation in the whole sewing world?
For when it started, for me, it wasn't super common. After my cancellation, there was like a wildfire effect. It was actually 6 months before the George Floyd thing and the Black Lives Matter blew up. That summer was the worst of the worst for the canceling. I've seen entire businesses change hands. So some of the stuff is totally intentional, kind of like just dirty business. Like people will go into a group with the plan to overthrow it or take it over, or you know what I'm saying? Like subvert the owner, and like literally an owner gave away her business to another owner. This is a bag patterns, like handbags and stuff.
Right.
So she had somebody, it wasn't even her, posted a blue line bag. So it was a handbag, and it had like the blue line in the middle, is like in support of police. And it was within like, I don't even know, I caught on to it pretty quickly, but it was probably a couple hours, maybe a day or so. It blew up, and people from admins from another handbag company that was like probably the quarter size. Like this was a huge company, huge, probably like the biggest in independent PDF handbags. They came in, started saying, oh, this is terrible, blah, 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 and all the things. You need a new admin staff. We're happy to help. So then they just started like taking over positions. Like she was handing out positions to these people who then eventually, after a week or so, the owner gave her company over to the other owner of this other company that was like, let me come in and help you.
Wow.
Like Like, yeah, it's insane.
That is shocking.
I don't know if you
Like,
followed
talk about a
all that.
hostile takeover.
Yeah, that's what, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were all, well, not we, I wasn't really commenting on any of that stuff, but people were talking about it like, just like that, a hostile takeover. And then they're like, no, they just didn't understand the BLM and like, and it just serves them right. And like all this stuff, like, no, you could see it. You could just see it, what it was. And I've seen that on a smaller scale and within groups that aren't business groups, just fun share groups and things like that. Just change hands because the admins for those groups are volunteers. They're not being paid. They don't want anything to do with the nonsense. So they're like, fine, you want to run the group, you run the group. And then the whole entire group gets taken over by the woke SJW, whatever you want to call them, you know?
I cannot imagine being like, oh yeah, here's my business that I've nurtured and grown. Have it,
you know?
Please.
I think she retains, I don't know all the business dynamics, you know what I mean? So I don't want to say she gave the entire thing away, but I do know she no longer runs the group. Her Facebook page is run by the other woman. Like everything is run by the other woman, the other owner, and she is no longer in sight. So whatever happened there, I think her patterns are now on the other woman's website or something like that. Like it's a crazy swap. So there is a lot, but recently I have noticed, so these groups that kind of cultivate this kind of culture in sewing world, there's like free speech, patterns and fabric, free speech, Black Lives Matter, or Black and POC edition, free speech, Canada, like these are all called free speech groups. There's another one that's like, what is the name of it? I can't remember, but they're a scam report group. So they will label people scams, and then they'll say, "Oh, you're never going to get your fabric," because a lot of this is fabric too. It's not just patterns.
Sure.
Independent fabric.
Yeah, you
designers.
have a fabric subscription as well.
I do.
Yeah,
I do, and I actually started that because I was ordering fabric from one of my favorite companies to order from, and I'd been doing it for years. And one of my last orders with them, well, it was my last order with them, was returned. And there was a note on the refund saying, "We do not sell our fabric to racists."
Wow.
No.
And I was heartbroken. This woman sent me notes when I would order fabric, like, "I love your double down dress. And you're amazing." Like just little notes I'm like, okay, thank you. Like, this is beautiful. I love your company. And then all of a sudden, like nothing. So that day I decided to start selling my own line of fabrics. Because I was like, obviously these independent fabric people are not going to sell to me or don't want to have me just say, "Hey, I got this fabric from wherever." And I would do that regularly without having to be a promoter for them. Just to share, because people ask like, "Oh, that's cute. Where'd you get it?" You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think
so. Go ahead.
I mean, that's happened all over in the knitting world, but I didn't know that was because there's a ton of like yarn dyers that are like, "Oh no, we don't want racists and Trumpites and whatever they want to call us. We don't want you buying from us." And I'm like, great, because I don't want to give you my money. But it's for them to be like, "No, we're not going to sell to a racist." It
was hard to read. It was hard to read. I deleted that right away. And then there's some of these things I don't delete, I keep. I wish I would have kept that now looking back. So I would have been like, man, that would have been nice to just, I don't know, to have for some reason, but really don't keep that. You shouldn't keep that stuff to anybody listening. It's not good.
See,
unless you have a legal case, then I guess.
Yeah. I like to put it all in a folder in my email that I don't look at, because you never know what's going to happen. Like I don't like dwell on it and open it and like reread these notes from people, but also, someday when they're trying to say I did something or dox someone or whatever, I want to be able to go back and be like, "Oh, really? Because look at this here," But that's just
So I'm going to go back because I got sidetracked on the whole fabric thing.
Yeah,
so these groups, a lot of them have closed down. The ones that are starting the trouble, they've closed. And what's happening is people like me, because I like to share where this information is getting started, or I've been kind of not doing so much of that anymore, but I was kind of calling them out and sharing like where it was coming from, because why not? Like people are believing that this is the gospel of the fabric and sewing world. And you're like, it's really not. So the more and more people like me that were being canceled, it started to affect, and it ripples, because the more and more people that they do this to, they're like, this isn't right. I'm not this. You're lying, like whatever the case is. So then their people see it, and it just kind of builds, and the momentum builds so much that I believe that they are feeling pressure to no longer run these groups. And what's happening is they'll post in the group, like this happened in Free Speech. We're closing the group because there's too much going on and people are reporting our group and blah, blah, blah. But we're going to open this group. So then they'll put a link in that group to whatever their new group is. And maybe 10% or less, like 5%, will join that group. Then they close the other group, or it goes into archive mode or whatever. So now all those people that were in there are no longer in the troublemaking group. Now this troublemaking group they have less of an audience now. It's just them. So these things aren't happening as much because they don't have the audience to rile up. They keep pushing themselves in these smaller and smaller and smaller groups where it's just them yelling at each other about nonsense. And then you start to see them like desperately going after each other within their groups because there's nobody left. So that's happening, which is, I don't want to say awesome, but it's just, I don't know. It's kind of a weird place. Like, I don't want other people to go through it, and I don't want them to be targeted and things like that. But there's a little bit of smirking that when you see it.
Yeah. You don't wish ill on anybody.
No,
but,
never.
But there's something about when they've kicked all of the conservatives or whomever their enemy is out of their groups, and then it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then all of a sudden, who else do you have to fight with? Well, now there's a person in your group that doesn't exactly fall into line, and now you have to go after each other. And so, yeah, you don't wish ill on people, but also it's a little amusing when they start to eat their own. I mean, yeah, I'm a human. I find it slightly.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a phrase that is tossed around a lot, like, oh, normie, like the normal people who don't really pay attention, that you have a lot of these different craft pages where they put out good crafts and people like to follow them. But then when they tend to take more of a political direction and, oh, this or that person is terrible, then you have all these people who are like, hey, I wasn't here for that. I was just here for the crafts. And even if they're like, oh, you must be right, that person must be terrible. If that is all you are doing now is telling people that other people are terrible, and then you're like, well, I'm going to do a new thing. Well, I'm still not there for that. They move on and the rest of the people just go along their day. It's a much smaller group of people who intensely care about this sort of drama.
Yeah. And you mentioned normies. I miss being a normie. Like, right. I want to go back to sometimes I think about like Adam and Eve, like before she ate the apple, just the bliss and the peace that they felt. And then once she's like the knowledge of good and evil, and then boom, like, oh my gosh, like we're naked, like all these things are happening. What's going on? Right. It's a weird comparison. That's kind of how it felt when they were like, you're canceled, or they tried to cancel me. I'm like, why? Where is this coming from? And then I spent like a year and a half just taking in as much knowledge on this subject as I could, just to understand. Because I sort of wanted to understand them as well. Like, did I really do something wrong? Am I really hurting people? Like, by doing what I'm doing, is this really damaging to society or whatever? Then you see it everywhere once you start understanding.
Right.
And then it starts to ruin everything, because then you can't even watch like TV shows and stuff, and you're like, oh, it's in there too. And then you're just like, oh, this stuff is everywhere. And I don't know.
I can see your collection of Funko behind you.
I love my fandom stuff. Yeah.
Oh, and you're doing, not to totally diverge, but you're doing a Fandom Make-A-Long right now.
I am, yeah. So anybody out there that sews or wants to attempt it to make anything, like a cosplay thing, like a full-on costume, or something that's like daily wear, or like even like this is an upcycled t-shirt, Fandom. Like, you can enter my contest and maybe win $50 shop credit. See, giveaways. I love giveaways.
Yay.
So what counts as fandom? Just because I am not.
Whatever you like.
Okay. So I'm gonna make a Pusheen outfit for Halloween. Does that count? Is that a fandom? I don't even know.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a little cartoon cat.
Oh, yeah. No, that counts.
Cool.
If
I
you're
actually
a fan
have to
of it,
sew.
Yes, I think you have to
you
use
have
your
to
patterns.
sew. You have to use my patterns too.
Hmm.
Like at
Okay.
least, I think I put at least 70% of the costume has to use my patterns. Like you can alter it, you can mash it with something else or whatever. But I think it has to be somewhat like I have to look at it and go, I see elements of my work.
Okay.
You used my stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna look at it because even though I mentioned that I despise sewing, I can and I do on occasion because people in my life ask me to. So that's interesting. It's very cool. Before we went off on that though, I wanted to ask you, in the whole sewing cancel thing, have people been like, do we have to talk about this? Can't we just all sew? Can't we just be in our happy sewing place? And then were they called racist for saying that?
Yes. They were
Okay.
called all kinds of things. One of them would be racist because, you're silencing, you're trying to attempt to silence, you're not allowing space for whatever. And
For the
yeah,
important conversations
and-
that we hijack the conversation to have.
yeah. And literally just saying, I just want to sew is white privilege based or whatever.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because this is super common in knitting. And it's like, if you say anything along the lines of like, let's all just get back to knitting, that's our privilege showing. And we're horrible people for even thinking about that. And so I wasn't sure. So what you're telling me is that it all came out of the same playbook. They've just changed knitting with sewing with fabric and yarn and
Oh yeah, and you can go back to fandom. It's in all of that because I just want to watch the movies that I love. You can't do that because the outside world is so bad and blah 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 that how dare you just sit and enjoy something?
Okay.
Like it's escapism. But that's why we have these things. It's escapism. It's like I don't want to think about that stuff. I want to think about something fun and frivolous and just nonsense sometimes. Like your brain is not meant, your body, your soul isn't meant to continuously take on every single person's problem or every single issue that may arise. Like the world is big and there's a lot of people and like my head can't handle that. I don't want that.
Well, and I find too, with a lot of different, nerd movies, fantasy, different elements like old Star Trek, for example, that a lot of things are like, oh, well, it's a social commentary. Star Trek has always been a social commentary. It's like Star Trek could mean a lot of things. Like, and if you allow to just have a story and then you can say, hey, that thing is like the story, that's much better than when they just browbeat you with whatever the issue is. And they make sort of make a so direct allegory, just so the bad guy is Trump every single time. And they hit you with it and you're like, okay, I get it now. It's like, no, wait, we got to hit you with this again. I know, really, I understand what you're trying to say. Like any allegory that they may have had or any, just good storytelling that could relate to other things, like they have to make sure that exactly what they're talking about at all times.
Yeah, there's none of that like inferring. You can't just apply it to life. You have to just know that this is exactly what they're talking about. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I recently watched the season of Peaky Blinders. I don't know if you guys watch that show.
I've heard of it. The suits look fantastic.
I love it's a great show. You should totally watch it. This last season, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there were some elements where you can feel like the writers were taking a lot of COVID elements and putting them in the show. Now, I didn't feel like it was done to hit you over the head with it because it's set in it's 1933. So, they weren't like COVID, and saying like that kind of stuff, but you could feel it a little bit. But again, when you're writing something as a writer, you're pulling things from your environment. So it wasn't pushy in that way, but it was like, oh yeah, that probably wouldn't have been in there had we not just gone through all that. And there's something else. Oh, the Badlands. You guys ever watch the Badlands? That's an older show. I don't even know if it still runs, but there was a point, it was right before the first Trump election. And I was really into the show. I think it was on AMC. It came on like right after Walking Dead. Like I liked that show a lot. And there was one, they're coming to this climax where they're trying to like leave the Badlands or something, but there was this wall. There was this huge wall. And I was like, nowhere in the show do they ever mention this wall or anything up until like 2 weeks before the election. Like, it was
magic wall from nowhere.
Wall. Yeah. That I was like, we were done. We didn't watch anymore after that, you know? It's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if it's like part of the story, like Divergent has a big wall around the city and you can't go out into the outside world or whatever. But just to throw one in there right at the election.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was weird.
Like,
it was so weird.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if you are into anime at all. There was a show called Attack on Titan, and they had a wall because the Titans would come in and eat people, and they're like, oh yeah, it's just like Trump and his wall. I'm like, it's not a flattering analogy for anyone. They were right to have a wall.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Okay.
My husband just started watching One Punch Man, but that's not anime. That's like live action, I think.
There is an anime version. I don't know if there's also a live action version, but
maybe it's anime then. I just know there's subtitles, and I don't do subtitles. I'm like, I can't
like
do
to read your
reading.
media while you're watching it.
How I miss everything. And then like halfway through whatever we're watching, I'm like, oh, that's what that guy looks like. Like I have no idea what anything's going on because I'm reading.
Right.
That's funny. I don't like subtitles just because if I'm knitting, like even though I can knit without like staring at it the whole time, I like to be able to like not miss stuff when I have to like look at my project. So I don't want to watch anything that has subtitles.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, no. It's so weird that the whole sewing thing is exactly like the knitting thing.
Yeah.
Like I was so caught up in what was going on with people like attacking me that now that it's been a couple of years, I'm like, wait, what? That happened there too? It happened in the book world too. Like can't we just have anything that we can just enjoy because we like it? Like, everybody's like, why is everything political? Well, I make stuff political because you made it political. Like, I don't know. It just gets old. I would love to just sit and make a pattern and be like, hey, here's my pattern. And it's just,
yeah. That's
what
I enjoy doing the most. Just making stuff, you know. I've never ever been a political person. I still don't view myself as a political person. I don't the things that they say are political now are just, they're not. It's not a political issue, but they make it a political issue. But I've never really been like into politics per se and really cared too much. I've just been more family focused and that. But once all this stuff happened, that switched because it almost it didn't force me. I just, like I said, I felt like I needed to know what was going on in order to kind of sort of protect what was mine, what I had created and what I had built. So now I'm kind of going back. Like I think I've put up enough walls, not to go back to that, but like
not to go back to the Trumpism here.
Trump wall. Yeah. I built my own walls. But I've done enough kind of sort of to protect, I think, my people, which is the most important to me. Like anybody that wants to share my pattern, whether I know them or not, like I don't want them to be attacked, which is what happens all the time. And then people don't want to share anything because they don't want to be called things.
right.
So I think at this point, hopefully I've done enough and spent enough time putting enough information like these, like interview with you guys or whatever, doing things so there's enough information about me personally out there that anybody can go find it if they want to know about me and understand. And if they don't want to know and don't understand, that's on them. If they want to assume things, that's on them.
Right.
But as an independent nobody in the world, I'm not like a huge superstar. There's not information about my life everywhere. So somebody can come along and say anything they want about me. And if that's in the topic of everything, that's all they know, So after going through the last couple years, I was very outspoken and I said what I said and put things out there and did interviews. And it seemed to actually help enough to where now I'm just really enjoying ignoring everything because I don't need to be on the defense anymore. Like I felt like I just nobody knew me. You know what I mean? Like they just knew I made patterns and racist.
And racist pattern.
But I mean, talking about how the groups have kind of changed and the different sewing groups have kind of changed, and it's okay, so you kind of, I don't know, put up a flag for not even necessarily conservative sewing, but kind of that that you have a new group of people who now find you because of this as well.
I do feel like my followers and people that are buying my stuff and supporting me are more conservative than probably prior because of that. And if I have a one-on-one conversation, I mean, I'm not conservative, but again, I make underwear and show my butt on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? I'm not,
right.
I don't know. So there's that mid gray area that I kind of fall in the middle. I think you can go too far one way and you can go too far the other way in any direction. And I like to just kind of hang around in the middle, maybe lean more right, but that's just because I don't know. I do. I don't know. Yeah.
I was just going to say, that's the problem with what's been going on is that, yeah, I'm a conservative person, but I would just be knitting if everybody else didn't make stuff. Okay, so I do make a lot of conservative patterns, but really, if it wasn't, the reason I started doing it was in response to other people. If they hadn't made it political, I probably wouldn't have made it political. You know what I mean? And there's I wish things would stop being so black and white and that we could have conservative people who are okay showing their butts on the internet and liberal people who say, I don't want to do that. And everybody can just be happy. It doesn't have to be this divide. That's all I was going to say. But anyway.
So I've been going to a lot of comedy shows lately. And this one guy, he's like, do you remember when the blue-haired people were the fun people? I was like, oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Because now it's and I like to do bright reds in my hair and things, and people assume different things about me when they first meet me and I talk to strangers, but they're usually wrong. but it's you see these people now and you're oh, they're really uptight. They have a million face piercings, tattoos on their neck, bright purple hair or whatever. And you're you're probably the most uptight person I've ever seen in my life. And which is really bizarre because when I was growing up, probably you guys too, or I think we're all the same age. It's those were the people that were you wanted to have a good time. I'm going to go find them.
Yeah. Go, go find the green haired person.
They're gonna go
party.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's more likely that the blue haired, lady is going to be the one who's upset at you for no reason than, just regular, jean skirt mom and kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother was making fun of me. He said, I'm the typical homeschool mom with the waist length hair. And he said, all you need now is a denim jumper and you're good to go. But seriously, we're probably having more fun than those blue-haired people.
See, I was old school, well, not quite denim jumper homeschooler, but kind of in that group and woohoo, we're the rebels now. It's gonna get wild and crazy.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I think my group of my homeschool families, we have a big co-op. I think our kids are probably the most normal kids because we continue to co-op and get the kids together and all that through pandemic times or whatever. They weren't isolated and all the things that you're seeing now, they're actually admitting this has damaged our children. And you probably shouldn't put a mask on a 2-year-old and not let them see your face. And like all these things
Really?
that are coming to light now that they denied before, that we all
A lot of
kind of
people
knew.
knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see it like in the grocery stores and I have some other friends that aren't like homeschool family, and it's just, the difference is stark, so it does. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, you said the homeschoolers are the rebels now. That's why. Yeah. So I think they're going to be the normal ones. Hopefully it continues and it rubs off on the rest of their generation, because they have to grow up with these people.
Right.
Yeah. But we also are part of a co-op. What state are you in? Are you comfortable
Nevada. Yeah,
Nevada.
I'm in Vegas. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what it was like in Nevada, but here in New York, like everything shut down. They were like psychotic about it all. So we started homeschooling because of COVID. So that first year we couldn't do anything with our kids, but last year we were able to get into a co-op, and it's just amazing how like normal people are. Like last year there was 1 or 2 families that were wearing masks, but like everybody else was just normal. They were just like living life, and they're, as time has gone on, the sickness policy has even loosened up. Like last year it was, if anybody in your family is sick, nobody can come. This year it's like, hey, if your kid is sick, leave them home. The rest of you can come, because we're back to the point of like, we have to live life. At some point you have to be able to just, and I'm glad that we're in this group of like-minded people where we can go and be normal. And I don't know. I hope that other people start. I'm so tired. I see all these liberals who are like, oh, you are killing immunocompromised people if you're not wearing a mask anymore. And I'm like, but am I? Like, there were always immunocompromised people. So, and we didn't wear masks. So I don't know. It's a whole, sorry, I am off on a tangent, but it's just amusing to me how, not amusing, but like, they'll take anything they can to like make you a bad guy, to try to like have a hold on you. You're a racist person, so you can't have the fabric. You're killing people because you won't wear your mask. It's just like, they take these crazy things and then they try to be like, here, this is you. And it's like, but I don't think I am.
So I think that a lot of that stuff is in always, like, and what I mean by that is like, it's always happened and it always will happen. And now you're just seeing, because the internet and social media, the way we interact with each other is so different. It's so personal. It's so like I can contact anybody. There's a million inboxes. There's a million ways to connect with anybody at any level in society. You know what I mean? Like celebrity or random person or whatever, public official, doesn't matter. Like there's so many avenues to get there. Now, if you want to just go back 20, 30 years to the 90s or even 80s or whatever, it was telephone and mail.
Right.
Maybe a fax if you could find their fax number. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you just didn't have that amount. Like, you wanted to do a letter writing campaign or something, you had to get people together to physically write these letters or sign the petition or do the thing. Now it's just like, it's so fast and so easy. So that kind of translates into like the cancel culture, because there were things before people tried to cancel. This is like a new term, but it's not a new thing. It's happened throughout time. It's not new. It's just new the way it's happening, on the scale that it's happening. I watched the Scientology thing. Do you guys watch that at all?
Yeah.
The Aftermath, I think it was called. And there was one episode and it was just crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is just like, because I was watching this while I was still dealing with all the cancel stuff. So the way that they go after, what do they call them? The people that go against them are they're not defectors, SPs. So any of this, I don't know. Suppressive
I don't remember
person.
the term.
Suppressive person. Okay. So the way they go after them is they attack them personally. They attack their job, their livelihood, and they go after, or they go to their family and friends.
Right.
And they do all these three things is exactly what the cancel culture does. They go after you personally. They go after your income, your livelihood, and they go after your friends and family to isolate you from anything.
Right.
And it was just so bizarre. I was like, this is insane. And this,
I don't know
if you guys haven't.
All right, I don't know if you're familiar with Tabitha from Murder Knits, but that she was canceled by her knitting group, but she only had like 70 followers and they were all her friends and family. So they went through and they messaged each and every one of her and said that she follows this horrible and racist person. You should unfollow her, tell her not to. And her family was like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's what they do, though. That's exactly what they do. There was one thing where they went after a judge because he was trying not to renew or give them their tax exempt status. So he was the judge that was supposed to rule on that. And they went after a judge. I'm like, this is crazy. And there's footage of them picketing his house. Like they're picketing a private person. It's like, it's just so weird. But now you put that on the internet and you just change that instead of, in real life to the internet. It's the same thing. They're picketing you. They're picketing your life. They're out there with signs and comments and whatever you want to call it. And that's exactly what they're doing to whoever.
Well, and it used to be, and this is something that I don't know if you ever listened to Rush Limbaugh, but conservative guy on the radio for years, and that people would try to get him taken off the radio all the time. And he would say, it's two guys and a fax machine, and they have a nice letterhead, and they send it off to a radio station or to another people saying that this person is awful and they need to, be taken off, that they have complaints. And it's like, really look at it. It's not that many people. And it's much more easy to be anonymous when you're on the internet. You can create as many little bot accounts as you like, and they can all say the same thing, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was somebody that we had on, I don't remember, who said that once they went through everything, that all the people that were canceling them, like the same names kept coming up over and over. And it seemed like it was a ton of people, but really it wasn't as much as it seemed.
I think
that's true.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mari from Skeins said that.
Yes. It was a yarn company that we had on. She owns a yarn company.
I think
she said when she really looked at it.
Yeah.
She's a
sweetheart. For people watching, but yeah.
But that is absolutely true, because I think I've blocked about 80 people total over the last couple of years. I just blocked them because they were the most troublemaking ones, right? But when I watch this go down in other groups and see things, and people send me stuff, like I don't want them to. So if you're out there and you're listening, stop sending me things. But they do. They just like, oh my gosh, did you see this? This is happening. And so I see it, and I'm like, I see the same names, the same people doing it to every single thing. Like, why you're going from business to business to business, and you're starting what I call internet riots. Like they're literally rioting and burning these businesses down because they're internet based. It's not a, riot or whatever, but that's what I like to call it, because it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, it is property damage in that it affects your business.
There's so many independent people now because of platforms like Facebook, PayPal, Etsy. All these things made it super possible and attainable for like a stay-at-home mom or whoever to just open a business and to have a storefront. And that's all getting taken away. And so there's like a dark side of this, and my conspiratorial mind too starts to see it as like, this is going to sound really weird, and people are going to probably clip it and be like, she's crazy. Like big box stores, are they feeling threatened from all the independent people now? Is this kind of some sort of weird, I don't know, movement into the internet to push out all these things? Because you see so much of it. It's like, who's left? If I take a stock at who's left in the big, like in the pattern world or fabric world or whatever, there's so many that have just been like gone. And now what's left is like a few bigger people. Right. So it's kind of weird. I don't know. I kind of look at stuff in like big picture, like long form, and I'm probably pretty wrong and it's not accurate at all.
But I mean, it's something that we've said in the knitting world. That's like, okay, so if you're an independent yarn dyer, if that's your business, that there is a lot of competition. It's not a high profit margin business. I mean, you can look and say that I like this person's colors better than others, but generally colors are colors and yarns are yarns. There is a quality difference, but it's a full market. Well, how do you stand out and how do you make money? You can take out your competition next door. You can start a rumor, you can say this, you can say that, you can latch onto something that they've said. And I mean, like you said, with the one smaller company kind of taking over the larger handbag company, well, they found an opportunity and they did it. How do you become more profitable in this business? That there's kind of a snipey element to it.
And like that, dirty business practices and hostile takeovers have been around forever. So again, like none of this stuff is new. People are just shocked that it's happening to them. But in reality, somebody like me would have never been in this position 10 years ago. Well, that's probably too soon, 15, 20 years ago, because there wasn't the platforms where I could just throw my stuff up and be like, here you go, and just do it whenever I wanted to. Like I would have to have a job someplace or maybe have a real business. Like it's a business. I have a business, but I don't like to think of it like a real business. I'm not out to pay my bills. Like I could, but I don't focus like that with it.
Right. You don't have a brick and mortar store and it's not the seamstress down the street saying that you're a terrible person and everyone should know her.
No. And for me too, like after years of, again, going through the learning and I'm trying to understand and reading, going back and rereading and looking through things and following other stories, the people that were doing it to me, it was other businesses that started it. Like I've got enough crumbs and I've got enough breadcrumb trails and things like that. Like I followed it back. I followed where the things are coming from, the people who they associate with, like all the things it's like one of those boards. It's like all the lines are all over. I'm like, oh, it's like, there's like three main things where everything's just stemming from. And it's just it's really weird to see that. And you're like, am I really seeing this or am I wanting to see this or whatever? But it's there. That's just, you can't change where the evidence goes,
Right. I think that you're absolutely right too. And the whole fact that the internet is a super cool place. Like, I mean, I met Anne because of the internet. 15 years ago, she was a kid, but also 15 years ago, I would never have come across her. She lives in South Dakota. I live in New York. So it's really cool in the fact that like we can connect with all these people, but then also there's this anonymity thing where these people are behind their little screen. Nobody really knows who you are. And you can just say whatever the heck you feel like saying. Oh, you're having a bad day. You can go call somebody else a racist and make yourself feel better. And I love the internet because it's opened up stuff. Like you said, like you have your business and I have my business and I met Anne and like all these cool things. But also it's like this really horrible, dark place where like, you get somebody who's mean, who then has a following, who all of a sudden, now they're like bringing down other people and other businesses. And it's kind of messed up. Like,
and not just mean too, but often mean under the, umbrella of no, wait, I'm really nice. It's like, don't you know that Jen really is a horrible person and you should know before you, make any of her patterns.
Yeah. I'm terrible. Don't
Just
sew
so
my
dreadful.
patterns. Don't do it.
I know. But and definitely do not check out her line of, altered t-shirt patterns. They're not cool or anything and totally available on her website.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what we can find. You said you mostly design for women or
girls.
I
mean, I have women and girls and men's and boys. I just for everybody. But I'd say 90% of what I do is for women because I like to sew for myself. Right. So I sew things that I like. I create things that I like. I'm not really designing for anybody particular except for myself. So that's what you're going to find. And then I have fabric. So that's fun too. I like to fabric shop. So I've turned that into a resale business. And
Sure. Like what kinds of fabric do you sell?
Right.
Like I don't design any of it. So it's like double brushed poly, cotton, spandex, mostly knits like that. I always get confused, like when you guys are like knits, because when I say knits, I'm talking about fabrics. Right. So it's always been confusing for me when you guys would talk sometimes. but yeah, like just fun stuff, things I think are cute, prints, solids, whatever.
So if somebody joined, because Anne said that you have a subscription thing. So it's stuff
Yes.
that you can get commercially somewhere and then you parcel out packages.
Yeah,
Is that kind
I
of how
buy
it
like,
is?
yeah, I buy wholesale. I buy big rolls, giant rolls of fabric and stuff like that. So what I do is like, if you wanted to join the fabric subscription, you sign up and then I send you a form, and each month you get to pick 3 yards of fabric, and I put like 6 or 7 choices on there. And then whatever you want, you can, in 1 yard of this, 2 yards of this, I want 3 yards of this is exclusive, or I only have a limited amount. So I let the subscription people get it first.
Sure.
In addition to that, they get a free pattern every month and 10% off their any other fabric purchases. So you're kind of like buying a discount code and the free
That's
pattern, as
cool.
well as getting 3 yards of fabric, and shipping is included. So it's nice. I like it, and it's fun, you know?
No, that sounds nice. And it sounds kind of like a deal because like I said, I don't enjoy sewing, but I do sew. And so I know that like going to buy fabric and stuff is not exactly a cheap prospect. So it's kind of
Yeah.
nice. And then you got the shipping included and patterns. I mean, that's a pretty good deal.
It's fun. You get like once a month, like somebody like you, if they signed up, it's almost like forcing them to sew something that month. Like they just got a bunch of fabric. They have the opportunity to go get a free pattern. They can go get a pattern. They have fabric. Now what are you going to
Yeah.
do? Like you got to sew it, right?
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, I'm sewing for Halloween, and I think that's about all I'm gonna get to for a while.
Yeah.
But hey, you never know. Maybe in
That's
the
a task
future.
though.
Oh,
My first thing that I made first costume I made my oldest kid was an Ariel costume. And this is before I didn't even get a pattern. I just was like, I could do that. It's just like, and I wasn't sewing. I think I just got into sewing, and the poor kid couldn't walk. She was like, it was so tight. The fishtail bottom, it was really pretty. It turned out pretty, but she couldn't move in it. And she was in kindergarten, and we went to the school, and she was like trying to play, and she couldn't use the playground equipment. She was like walking. It was so funny. But yeah, so now she teases me about that. She's like, remember when you made me that Ariel? Like it was
that's
horrible.
so funny. Yeah, but that's like any craft. That's how it goes. You
Yeah.
have to learn. You have to start somewhere. So unfortunately for your kid, you learned on her, but
I did.
so
Yeah.
the make-along that you mentioned earlier, how long does that go? Is that through this month, or is
it goes all month. You have until I believe November 1st or 2nd to submit pictures. All that information's on my blog. It's littlragamuffin.com.
Okay.
Yeah, so like you have all month, because I know people are making their things. They're probably, if they want to get cool pictures, will be Halloween if they're sewing for Halloween. So I'm not going to cut it
Right.
off before then. Go ahead and get your pictures and then turn them in. And they can turn them in either in my Facebook group. They can tag me on Instagram with their picture. What else? They can email it to me if they're not on social media. Like I love people that aren't on social media.
Well, you were talking a little bit about stepping away from that too.
Yeah.
Right? That you did a lot of social media, then you kind of brought it back.
Yeah, well, that's because like again, before all this stuff happened, I wasn't on, like I wasn't doing anything. I would make my patterns, I would sew and promote that kind of stuff, but like I wasn't into anything else really. Like I was just my kids, my family, and then that was my side gig, right? And after all this happened, it's just like you just like, why is this happening? What's going on? And then you just go down all these rabbit holes, and you start like spending way too much time, and then trying to figure out how to maintain and save what I've built, because my business grew. Like in 2 years, I went from having nobody, like zero, because I was new, to 10,000 group members in 2 years.
Nice.
Like it grew so fast, and then it stopped. It was just over. And I'm like, I have nowhere to, like, even still to this day, like, I think I'm at like 11,600 or something. So there's like no growth. And now I'm at 5 years. So that's difficult, but it's only because I have nowhere to advertise. And I could, I take it back. There are places and things you can do. I just don't have the time, resources really to give to it. So I was looking for other platforms that were free, similar to Facebook, like MeWe, and other ones like that. And trying to invest time in building communities there to kind of be able to advertise. And it just took so much of my time away. And I just felt like after doing that for so long, that on top of trying to follow what's going on to make sure I wasn't going to get attacked again, or like whatever else is happening. Like you gotta know your enemy, right? Like that type of thing.
Right.
It was so draining and just so like, I wasn't sad or depressed. I was still happy and my life was good, but it was just, there was something not right.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that. So I just got rid of everything. I started closing accounts. I started getting away from everything. I stopped caring if anybody commented or even liked anything. Cause that was too, like I was getting, before this, I had such a high, interaction rate. Yeah. High interaction rate on whatever I did. Like, it was just like fireworks. And then it was nothing or bad. like it was nothing or it was bad. So then you find yourself like, and I didn't really realize I was doing it at the time, but that's why I took like a break. And after I took a month on, I was like, I'm just going to stop for a month. And I did. And I was like, oh my gosh, this feels good. I'm going to stop for 2 months. Like, I'm going to start closing accounts. I'm going to start like just minimizing what I'm doing. And it's just like, it's so much better. Like my sales are the same or whatever. Like nothing's happened. The world didn't come crashing down. Nobody's on fire. Like it's better. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's something that we all fall into. It's really easy to like post and then like keep going back to check to see like, did anybody like it? Did anybody comment? Did anybody? And it's going to get the same interaction whether or not you're checking it every 5 minutes or you're not. So you might as well just like let it go and move on. But it's hard to do. I do it all the time. So you know, it just depends.
You just gotta stop. You get for it when you feel it. Like I started, one thing that's helped me, I still have the stuff on my phone, but like my iPad and stuff, I just like deleted everything. Cause why is it gotta be on there too? It doesn't. It's a distraction. But like on my phone, like I'll just completely log out, and I have it logged out so where I have to put my password in. I made it really, really, really long. So it's almost annoying to have to put it in. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't want to put it in. And so I wouldn't do it. And now it's like, I don't even think about it unless I need to post something or feel like I want to. Then it's like, okay, I'll put this super long, stupid password in and do the thing, you know? So I guess I don't know, I guess that might be silly, but it helps. You know, it makes it a little challenging. It's not so easy. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's so easy when it's just on your phone or your device and you just click on it and then everything's there. And then I have a tendency to like fall into a hole. I just meant to look to see if I needed to respond to anything. And all of a sudden I've been scrolling for 20 minutes and I should be cooking dinner and, you know, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all those things. And like now it's just so much better, you know.
That's cool. Very cool. Good. So
I don't know. Everybody's awesome and you guys are amazing. And people in general, just humans are cool. I don't know.
Humans are cool, Jen, 2022. Yeah.
No, but it's true. We are all cool and we need to stop being mean to each other for real.
Yeah. We're all just people at the end of the day. Like none of this stuff matters. And it's going to continue. Like I think I said like 4 or 5 times, it's all just the same regurgitated nonsense. And it's just new to you or whoever, because it's happening now to you. Like, but it's not new and everybody has to go through something. So, but I like humans intrigue me. I like them.
Oh, good.
Where can people find you?
Yep. And as far as your hard down social media world is concerned.
I'm Instagram and Facebook and my blog. My website, well, my blog is also my store. Like it's my website, littlragamuffin.com. You can find that on Instagram. It's just Little Ragamuffin, or it's LIL Ragamuffin. And then Facebook.
When I was typing your thing in to find it, I'm like, hang on, which one is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Little Ragamuffin.
It's the whole thing, Little Ragamuffin. And then my newsletter is super important. I put one out once a week. There's a sale, a $3 pattern offer every week, and whatever information new is going on. So people do not have to be on social media. They can just follow my newsletter and I will keep them updated. I was doing video updates on YouTube for a while. And then I just got to, again, like that was one of my attempts to like get off of Facebook and get out into a different platform. And it just became too much. Like I just couldn't keep up with doing the videos and stuff. So
Yeah,
good
it's
job
a
for you
lot.
guys. You guys do a lot of videos. But I'll probably go back to it. It's been about 6 months. I'll probably do another one because I have the anniversary coming up and the sales and stuff. But it's mostly my newsletter, Facebook, Instagram. That's it. Or website,
Cool.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And yeah, so this month she's doing a make-along. And if you got to use one of her patterns to do.
Yeah, I even have free
thing, right?
patterns. I have some free patterns too.
Awesome.
So I have like a kid's raglan that's free. There's a men's tie or person tie, whatever. Like anybody make it, but you can even just do that and make it like some out of some fandom fabric or something cool, and you don't have to buy anything. Or you can sign up for my newsletter and get a $3 pattern when I
Cool.
release those. Yeah, so it's awesome. Do it. Everybody should make something. Yeah.
All right, fine. But if you're not a sewer and you guys need some yarn, don't forget to check out our sponsor. Here's her tag. Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. She's awesome and we love her. And she makes really, really cool colors like this PIK. This is our color. It's got some gold and some blue and some maroon, and you can make something lovely and fallish with this colorway.
Do you have anything nearby that's sewn up or not sewn up? See, that's knitted with that? Because I'd like to, like, that looks really pretty, but it's so like colorful. How does that look when it's all done?
This guy needs to be blocked, but this is the PIK colorway knit up and a cowl that may be having a pattern come out soon. If
That's
I ever
really
get to
pretty.
writing it. But yeah, it is really pretty. And this has a wave pattern on it. You can't tell on screen, but it's really very pretty. But yeah, if you want to make something cool with Chicken Lady yarns, you totally can. And if you use the code PIKBOO20, you'll get 20% off of your purchase. And who doesn't love a deal, right? So that's awesome. And you can find us on YouTube and Rumble. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you check out Jen and her cool stuff.
LittleRagamuffin.com.
Yep. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. You guys are a blast.
Oh, thanks so much. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.